Now when you go to this bank and you take out this blue card or whatever card they have, and you put this card in and you press, and this card comes out and it tells you no funds available. You know the feeling. Life is like that. If you put nothing in, you get nothing out. And sometimes we expect others to put money for us in the account so that we can just continuously draw and draw and draw until everything runs dry. It doesn't work like that. So in this session, I will speak about the making of writing. But you must put something into the session too. You must become part of the session so that it does not become a monologue. It doesn't become me alone giving. Let there come from you questions, suggestions, and let us make this a dialogue and not a monologue. Is that okay? Because one of the things that a teacher or a lecturer, a true teacher and a true lecturer, they feed and they are fed on interactive participation. So we need to participate. We need to interrogate each other. There's no sin in the word interrogate. It's a beautiful word. Enter, interrogate, rip out, call out. Very important word. So my brothers and sisters, who can tell me, we touched upon the subject earlier. If we talk about writing, what is it that we're actually talking about? The expression of what? The expression of motions, of thoughts. Emotions, you can't express the emotion without having formulated the thought. You can't jump from emotions to writing. It has to register within the cerebral cavities of our minds. It has to register for us. I feel anger, I feel passion, I feel something, and therefore it sends up this message to my mind. My mind looks for the appropriate word in which to express that emotion. So, if you wish to write about any subject, poetry is different. You can't write poetry from an idea. True poetry is not written from an idea. True poetry is written from an emotion. But you can write an essay, and you can write a composition. You can write all of these things from ideas. Eureka! I have it. I have an idea. I've seen something. Poems don't work like that. True poems are generated by feelings, by emotions, love for a woman. If your thoughts can stretch their wings over these distant streams, send them far from me, because they might fall in this mud, But when I look at you, I hear bells ringing, swinging in my mind. This is poetry of love, the poetry of anger. We shall not always plant while others reap the golden increment of our fruit. Not always their faces abject and mute that they should hold us cheap. So the anger translates into words of anger, the emotions. So all writing, all true writing, creative writing, emanates from feelings and emotions. There are others, for example, if you wish to discuss comparative religion and say to them, well, in Kings 1 and Isaiah so-and-so, and in the Quran, they say this. So you have to use the language that can show us the oddities, the diversities, or the compatibilities of what you are arguing about. You need to have a command of that language. So let us look at creative writing. What it is that you need in order to be a creative writer. Firstly, you need to have a strong vocabulary. You need to have the strongest vocabulary. And how do you get the strongest vocabulary? You take a dictionary, the thesaurus, and you study 5 words every day. Every day, you attack 5 words. Every day. You take these words and you check their meaning, and you write their meaning down, and you make sentences for yourself, and you show it to somebody. Now, that is called word power. How to get the power of words. How to effectively communicate through writing. You must know your subject. You must do research around the subject. You must find out what others have said, what Bernard Shaw has said about our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon his name, what other great people have said about him. Then you take what is called a eulogy. You write a eulogy around our Prophet. You elevate him. But you cannot elevate him if you don't know what words to use. He was a mercy unto mankind. He was a beacon of hope. He was, you look for the verses, the idioms in order to elevate him. In language, we speak about it as elevated diction. You elevate your language. Now, where does diction come from? Latin, dicta, dictum. You can explain?
No, I don't know this word.
Okay, well, in Latin, this is where the word dictionary comes from. It comes from Latin. Dicta is one word, dictum are words. So it is important for you to know the origins of words, the origins of phrases, the origins of things that can make you a better person at articulating the views, the feelings that you possess. So in order to be a good writer, you must possess a powerful, extraordinary vocabulary of the language in which you are going to engage the subject. Now let us presuppose it is English. I only grappled with English when I came to the Catholic school. I'd been speaking my mother's language, Setswana, and Afrikaans in Tsotsitaal. So when I came to the nunnery, there they were with Latin, Patre Filii Spiritus Sancti, mea culpa, mea mansima culpa. I can go on and on and on. I was trained in Latin at the Catholic school. And then later on, English became the vehicle through which I was educated. But I'm a Tswana, coming from a background where Waka, Mudimu, and other terms. So I had to fully grapple the challenge of this language. And how did I grapple this challenge? I frequented the libraries. I read voraciously 6 books, 7 books in a week. I completed all Paul Gallico's books. I smashed Enid Blyton to pieces. I took on Richard Wright. I took on James Baldwin. I read until I was blue in the face. And then every day I would have a vocabulary of words. At the age of 9, I had words like conflagration. I had words like amalgamation. I had to shorten these words. And so much so that this is what they said about me in my first report in Standard 1, Standard 2. Don Mattera shows an uncanny aptitude for words. He is precocious in his application and usage of this word. Precocious in my dictionary, in my report. God, what does the sister say? Dictionary. Aptitude. Aptitude means this. Precocious means blooming before his time. Wow. Then I own those words. I make sentences. I own the words. No word belongs to the dictionary. Words are slaves. You can grab them, use them, whip them, shape them, do what you want to. But you can't do it from a distance. You must approach the book. You must open the book. You start with the ABC ABAC, and you end with zygophone of zymology at the back. So now you go into this dictionary with a decision and an ambition. You know that one day you will be called to explain your Islam. You know that one day you will be called to do a story about comparative problems of prophets. You have the vocabulary to do that. So what you need is to firstly, understand your limitations, like I did. I understood my limitations. I'm a Tswana speaking person. I come from a mixed Italian and Tswana background. The Italian couldn't speak English. Tomorrow you come, you bring a cigar for me, Papa. Domani, tomorrow you go and you bring for me some macaroni. You go to Papa. Me, I no like this. Your mother, she no so good to me. So then I had to grapple with this language. My mother, Setswana, she left school at standard 4. She couldn't even speak. She worked for Jews. And they would say to her, Agnes, yes, boss, I told you, Agnes, how many times? I don't want the yellow of the egg. I want only the white of the egg. Agnes, why are you doing this? Yes, boss. Agnes, why did you not wash the collars of my shirt? Agnes, haven't I told you many times to empty out the piss pot before you do my tea? My poor mother, at the age of 12, a slave to these people. No education, no nothing. But you are different. If you have no objective, if you have no mission, if you have no vision, then don't come and do that. You must come in here with a mission. And if the mission is to be an articulator of deen, if your mission is to write about the problems that beset your community and your people, then you belong here. If your mission is just to come and be a poet, you may belong here too. But finally, will poetry deliver your nation from servitude? You must have a vision. You must know what you want in this writing. Number one, acquire a powerful vocabulary. Number two, what are you going to do with this vocabulary? You must know what you want to do with it. I did what I wanted to do with poetry as a weapon against the apartheid enemy. The apartheid enemy is gone. Now what must my words do now? My words now must be balms. They must heal the wounds of my people. I must write words and poetry and articles that help to heal the wounds of my people, expose corruption in the government, and fight against these things that are wrong. So I have a mission. What is your mission if you want to be a writer? I can't give you a mission. You have to know the mission. Now you know the mission. You have the tools, the language. Now you go. But you can't go and fight the enemy when you don't have the tools or the spear. You don't have anything, no sword. If you have a sword, it's blunt. All you can do is just say, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Shukran, Alhamdulillah. This is not enough. Alhamdulillah is not enough. You have heard the Sheikh say that we must bear witness. And the Sheikh has said you must bear witness with your lives. I can't say that to you. Your life is so precious. You must decide whether you are prepared to bear witness with your life. You must decide. But what I can help to do is help you to have the implements, the tools. And the tools of a great writer is that this writer is committed, that she has a vision, that she knows what she wants to do, that she is prepared to sabr, to persevere by opening the books until the midnight hour. then she must not be afraid of criticism. She must be able to take her work to others and say, please read critically. Don't patronize me. Read. And then when these people have given her their views, she goes to another one, seeks a second opinion. Then she takes these two views and she reads them, and then she sees this one is messing me around, but I like some of the things he has said or she has said. This one is praising me too much, I must be careful. So you use the balance, the mizan, the balance of that, and you own the balance. A good writer is a woman or a man who understands their role and their mission. She understands there are laws that govern writing, just as there are laws that govern driving, just there are laws that govern baking, just as there are laws that govern purifying water. So you have to understand these laws. The first law is be truthful in your writing. Be truthful in your writing. Number one, does your writing reflect the truth of the situation? In English it's called veracity. V-E-R-A-C-I-T-Y. The veracity of the situation. If you are satisfied that your writing reflects truthfully the essence of what is taking place, you are satisfied. But you must also be judicious. You must give both sides of the story. Don't only write that the Jews are evil, that the Jews are no good, that there is no one good Jew in the world, and you know it's a lie. There are Jews in Israel who are preparing their own lives to fight against their own people, speaking for us. Ronnie Kessel's in this country has shown us exactly. He may be a communist, but what a good communist he is. He's standing up for the truth. So what we need to do is, when you write, reflect both sides of the story. Acquire knowledge, have a vision, have a mission, research your story, your article, your subject matter, good research, depict it from all angles, be balanced in your views. Unlike what is happening in America, unlike what is happening in Israel. It doesn't mean that you must be as dirty as they are, that you must be as one-sided as they are, that you are Allah's creation. And Allah's creation, Allah doesn't want you to come and lie in His favor. He doesn't want you to be one-sided about issues. Allah loves truth, even if the truth hurts a Muslim. This is important for you to understand. So, now you have the implements, you've acquired knowledge, you are giving the view. Now Mr. Mattera, or Brother Don Mattera, or Omaruddin, how must I structure this? Firstly, there must be an introduction. Normally this introduction has 5 laws. Who, where, how, why, when. 1 or 3 of those, or 2 of those must appear in the introduction. It's very important to know that there's a receptacle. News falls and information falls in a receptacle. As you go down, it becomes lesser important when you're a newspaper. But when you're a propagator, you try and keep the climax of the information. In journalism, we start with the most important news. In magazines, we give you the important news at the back because we want you to continue paging. You check our adverts, you check things, and you get influenced by our adverts. So we keep the climax for you until the end. In magazines and in books. In newspaper, we take the climax to the top. We alert your eyes. The American cluster bombs decimated a hospital, leaving over 900 children terribly. Now, you can lie about that. You can use the elevated attack language. You could say the cruel American heartless president sent his cluster bombs to decimate innocent, helpless. Oh, you can go to town on them. You can go to town on them. They can go to town on you. So what you need to do is to not dress your language with too many adjectives. Look for the appropriate adjective. Look for the appropriate word, the appropriate idiom. Selflessness in Islam is said to be a virtue. Selflessness in Islam is said to be a virtue. This is a statement of fact. But selflessness in war, when you don't fear for yourself and you just go in, I'm just going to rattle. Anything I see in front of me, I'm just going to wipe out. Then, of course, you come back home and they put medals on you. You're such a great hero. You've murdered children. Oh, what a great hero you are. So we must be able to discern for ourselves. So every piece of writing, every plan that you have, like for example, if I wish to write a short story, I plan the short story in my mind. Where will I begin the story and where will I end the story? I will get my guy maybe lying in the street bleeding. I will start my story there. When Johnny bled and kicked his last kick, there was a voice saying, why did I come to this place? Why did I come here? And then this echo takes him back to the morning where his mother said, you go to that black township, they'll necklace you. You know these blacks, they are killers, they are murderers. But mommy, I'm black as well. No, you're a colored, you're a pure colored. You don't belong with these people. These blacks are barbarians. So I write my story. But I do so with emotion. I do so that when finally my story is read, you cry. You say, but it's impossible. How could this man write like that? So the purpose is a single purpose. I want to touch the hearts of those who read my story. What is your purpose if you write a story? What is your purpose if you're going to write a book? What will your purpose be? Let's create a topic for you. What topic would you like to choose right now if we asked you to write? Now, at this minute. At this minute, we asked you, choose a topic. What would you do?
I'd like to write about my illness and how I developed personally during it.
Okay, lovely. And what do you call such a story? It's a personal drama.
It's a journey.
A journey. So it is your journey about pain and coming to terms with pain. So it is going to be a powerful emotional piece, or is it going to be a jocular, funny piece?
I'd like to handle it lightly.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to break it down in lots of heavy emotion, because that's how I dealt with my illness.
Okay, beautiful. In English we call such writing somebody check the dictionary?
Stoic, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Stoic writing. Coming to terms with personal pain. Coming to terms with disappointment. Loving a man who does not love you. Loving a woman that ignores you. How you handle with personal pain. How you handle with personal trauma. So, you have to work out the introduction for that. You must say to yourself, who's my audience? Who am I writing for? Who will read my book? And then once you know your audience and you know your target market, then your language will be suited for them. If it is for the professors, you will use professorial academic language. If it is meant for the ordinary woman, and man in the street, it would have that ordinariness about it. Me, I'm nothing. I'm walking around with the sickness. But let me tell you something, I've come to terms. So, you know, it would be, you can also use this language. Who've heard of this word, racy? Check your dictionary, please. You'll find out. It's a language that it moves. It has a nice tone to it. It's racy. It says, hey man, you know, I was standing at the bus the other day and this doctor comes and this doctor looks at me and says, hey, you're dying. So it's racy language. It's a serious matter, but look how it's handled. The language, the texture of the language. Always language has texture. May I have?
Yeah.
Okay. Language has texture. And texture is so important, just like you could feel the man or the woman sitting next to you, you feel their garment. You can feel that the texture of your kurta, the texture of that shirt is different. Language also is like that. It has a texture, it has a finery or a coarseness. It depends on what subject matter you are aiming to project. So now your vocabulary is strong. Your objective is known. You would like to achieve this. You have the tools. You plan your story. You plan your essay. You plan your article. You know that you have to have an introduction. You have to have a body, and you have to have an ending. Now, where will you start it? Either there at the introduction or at the ending. It depends. Where you sit now is maybe the best time to start your story. Where you sit now, and go take us back on the journey into the past. Others are more direct and brutal. They attack the story from the beginning and they come to the ending. So, a creative writer is the person, and I like to speak of them as she's because it's normally his. A creative writer is a woman who understands her mission, who has the tools of prepared, who knows what she wants to achieve. Then, in the best texture of language that she can command, she writes her piece. She knows that she wants to make it an emotional piece that will show men that women have a right to be on this earth, that they constitute more than half of the world's population, and yet they are at the lowest seat of power throughout the world. So this woman is not necessarily a feminist. She is a womanist, and she wants to fight for the right of women in the world. Now, she can be very offensive. She can immediately go for the jugular vein of men, or she can move with the precision and the movement of a cat and a tiger, knowing that when she's ready, she will pounce on her subject. So she has to move with the grace. She must plan her work so that when men read it, they say, yeah, it's true. We guys are giving these guys a bad deal. Not, yeah, let them go. All women are the same. This is what the Western world has done to our women. They have made our women competitors to fight in the field. Their writing is offensive. Sher is one of them. This woman called C-H-E-R, Sher, and so on. It is offensive. Writing about the male parts, the male movement with such vulgarity that she loses her fight. She loses the mission that she set herself out to do. Men no longer now sympathize with her. They're happy when she has a an ordeal or something. I'm saying, if a woman is going to be engaging in writing, she must understand that there are certain laws of engagement that she must respect. Similarly with men, when they engage in issue, there are certain laws of engagement that you have to respect. You can't write spuriously about me without having ample proof. So writing, therefore, has a responsibility. It has a vision, a mission, it has tools, it has a responsibility. It has to be objective. If it is subjective, it must be subjective with veracity. If it is subjective, meaning that which affects women now, and women are going to be part of that subjective argument, then there are rules of engagement. So it is important for us to understand that mission. Writing is also very personal.
How do you decide whether your writing is going to be subjective or objective?
Well, yours is subjective when you tell us about your ordeal, my ordeal. But when you write about my ordeal, you can't be subjective. You should not be subjective. You should be able to look at my ordeal as an onlooker and say that Don Mattera's life as a gangster in the street may have been an ugly experience for him. But look at him today. He has tried, by the small means he has, to change his life for the better. If you condemn only that bad life and you don't look at the little good that I've accomplished and others have accomplished around you, then you are subjective. You have to be objective. You have to see the object. You have to look at it. You have to find out all the ramifications around this object, and then you write. So yours, in the ordeal of your sickness, is a personal testimony. And a personal testimony is subjective. But when you're writing about the testimony of others, for example, it's also subjective. For example, if you hate America and you write about Afghanistan, your views will be subjective. However, is there one person here in this room that was glad when the aeroplane ran into that building and killed 6,000 people? Is there somebody that was happy here? And this person doesn't belong in Islam. Because the Jews, the Americans want us to believe that we should be happy that that happened, so that you share in the culpability of the act. It was a heinous act, and it was driven by men who were desperate, who felt that I can rather offer my life, but I want to show these Americans something, that they are not God's greatest people. Those young men offered their lives. They still have to answer to Allah at the Day of Judgment. No one here is happy when a Palestinian takes a bomb and puts it in a club where young children are sitting and explodes and they die. A Muslim who is happiness, who finds joy in that, is not a Muslim. Similarly, Jews that go and kill and shoot and murder children, how can other people find happiness in that? It is about retaining your humanity. Writing means that you want to project an inhuman act, or you want to project a humane act. This is why we are different from these people. They will not stoop to lie and cheat as Bush does about the situations there. But when I write the story about September 11, I cannot say it was a great effort by these heroic Muslims who ran and murdered so many people in that building. I can't. It is unlike me. So I don't know about you. So you have to decide how far in your writing you are going to retain your humanity or lose your humanity. I can give you, there's about 8 forms of of journalism. The gutter and the yellow journalism is journalism and writing that is based on sensationalism. But there's also incisive journalism. Incisive writing. Incisive writing is the writing that goes into the matter, goes deep into the issue. It doesn't just like Fisk, Robert Fisk, like Chomsky, like Williams, very powerful, and more other journalists that you guys, if you know any more, you can mention them.
John Pilgrim.
Oh yes, Pilgrim. Wow, that's something else.
But couldn't it be said that what is incisive to you might be yellow journalism to me, or
no, Sheikh. If it is incisive, it is incisive. It takes the matter and it looks at it objectively. It goes deep into it. It says, for example, that America may go and bomb the people of Afghanistan. However, America has a history of murder in the name of liberation. So you have to go incisively into it and expose. For example, who knows that the Americans killed people in the Dominican Islands, that they killed people in Grenada, that they killed them in Thailand, that they killed them in Vietnam. I can go on and on. So America's hands are bloodied. But it doesn't mean all Americans are bloodied. It doesn't mean all Americans support the atrocities. So it is important for us to blame the American state, the Israeli state, and if the people of Israel support their government, then we must say so.
How do you tell if a writer is incisive? If you're not there, you're relying on his story. How are you going to know that it is?
Well, if you have been experienced to feel the texture of language, if you find that the language is partisan and that the language advocates one side to favor that, you can easily detect that if you are a discerning reader. Remember, this morning I told you, Allah says in the Quran, verily, in the Quran, there is a great truth for the discerning minds. One of the things about Islam, and also the things about true Islamic scholars, is that you have to use your judgment, your akal. So there has to be, you must be able to discern whether postulations, views, theses, analyses are in fact what they are. Don't just accept. This is why I said to you earlier, the woman must be critical. She must be analytical. She must ask questions. She must not just accept what Don Mattera says. She must be able to have a discerning, critical mind. You see, what is missing in the world right now for writers is that we need to have a group of people, what we call a critical mass. The critical mass constitutes a handful of people who have the power of the mind. In physics, we speak about the critical mass. You have the power, a few people. Look at 13 people left Mecca in the Hijrah. 13 people left. And for 10 years, the imams were being strengthened. For 10 years after the wars of Badr and Uhud, terrible things had happened. These people, this critical mass, they were cleaning themselves out, cleaning their imams, preparing themselves for the return to Mecca, for one of the greatest takeovers without bloodshed. Show me any other takeover outside of South Africa. South Africa had a lot of bloodshed between 1990. So many people died of Inkatha and ANC. Mandela was out. But look, in August and September, the reign of terror in 1985, 1990, and so on. But what we need, Islam needs a critical mass of journalists who understand the vocation. You guys want to sit there? Go. See, these prefixes are very important. People are vocal, they are vociferous. It has to do with your voice. And why is it vocation? Because it's calling. It is a calling. It has to do with the voice. And what did I say earlier to you about God, about Allah? His voice, kun fayakun. He didn't sculpture a statue. He had to declare. Something had to be said. So once you know your vocation, what we need is a band of journalists, a band of writers who understand their vocation, who know that they want to try and write about this truth. Because right now, our enemies in our religion, against our religion, are controlling the means of communication and media propagation. They are controlling this. And in order for us to give a response, we too must be trained, either at university or either in such fora as these, or we look for a forum in which. So it has to do with the calling. I believe I have a calling. I believe it is not fully functional because I'm being marginalized, because I'm not an ANC member, number one. I don't have a green and black membership card. These days you need it if you want to get into power. I am not also in control of the Islamic propagation in this country. So there are lots of things that marginalize me from the mainstream of propagation. But it doesn't mean I must fold my arms and sit back. It means I must attack and I must face and I must fight the situation. So, you know your mission, you know the tools of your trade, you need words, you need vocabulary, you need a vision, you need a mission, you need a calling, you have a discerning, critical mind, you belong to a group of people that just don't accept this pumping into their brains. You want to discern, you want to work out things, you want to understand what is happening to you, you want to understand what is happening to your people. Now, you go into the private of your room, you sit in front of your computer, and you start writing. It's such a personal, private affair, it's not funny. You'll come a time when you fold the paper and you throw it away. There'll come a time when the distractions that militate against you are so much. But if you have a vision, you are discerning, you have a calling, you understand who you are, writing now becomes stronger than the AK-47. It becomes stronger than the hand grenade. Because what are you doing, Sheikh? You are aiming for the mind and for the heart. We may be free now. The chains of apartheid have been removed from our feet. They have been removed, but our minds are in chains. We are prisoners of this word. And it is only when we have come to terms with this can we now engage and become exponents of the Quran exponents of Islam, exponents of a new order in the world. If I were to write a partisan piece to the Muslims, I will say quotations from the Quran. O you who believe, rise up against oppression, and so on. Use the force of your hand to remove it, and support those. If you cannot do that, support those who are removing the force of their hand. If you cannot do that, go and hide your face, because that is the lowest form of iman. Am I right? So, oh, you believe, what would our Prophet have done at this time, at this situation? Oh, you, I would have instigated you. But how can I instigate you when I'm at the back of the queue and I'm not in front? So I must lead by example. Sheikh, if you are going to instigate the Islamic community against this, be right in front. Don't be like me, the coward at the back. Go to the front. If you are going to address the Christian and Jewish community, do so with respect. You know, not all Jews are sellouts, and not all Christians are sellouts, and not all Muslims are great. So you have to have that discerning. Who's your target audience?
So, my point is, what if we're putting it in the daily news where you're going to get Muslims, Jews, Christians, the whole spectrum reading it? That's quite tricky, isn't it? How do you handle that?
Well, I think firstly you have to decide, like I told Jerome has to decide what he wants to do. He wants to convert to Islam, he must not be nudged and pushed. Similarly, you have to take on the onus, O-N-U-S, of your decision. Similarly, Bush will one day have to answer for what he has done there. You, in a small way, have to accept the liability of, or the credibility of whatever views you will purport in any newspaper. I don't see it's a risk, really. I just think you have to be determined enough to state your case. It's a terrible thing, but why not one day let us have our paper that we can give free of charge, free of charge in the townships. The townships is the future of Islam. Believe me now. I may be sounding very, very funny. The black townships, the townships where the least of God's creation live, this is the place for Islam. The future president of this country will one day be a Muslim. I don't care what they say. I can feel it. I can feel it. What we need to do is sow the seed where the seed will fruit, where it will grow. Throw the seed in Bel Air, in these big townships. They are still having big fences. They are still having white dogs, wild dogs there. The townships, they are waiting. Bear fruit in the black townships. This is where our great Islam. People wonder all over the world why the Madakila, Soweto in the township, why haven't they bitten onto this fruit of Islam? It is a sweet fruit and it is a bitter fruit. Because we have made it a religion of topis and kurtas only, and Quran under the arm and a grocery packet. We must change that.
Sorry.
Lots of words, and I hope some of you have taken these words down. We must have in us the propensity. And I did not do this to show off my knowledge, just to show you that I'm not at university, I was never at college, but I engage language. We must find within us the propensity to be able to expand our horizons and be compassionate. What have we learned today? Is there something that I missed out today? Have I touched your hearts? Have I made you understand yourself better? Have I made you understand your vocation better? Have I made you understand your mission? If I have, then we've succeeded. If I have not, then inshallah, give me another chance next year. Is it okay, Sheikh?
That's right, that's right. Thank you so much, Uncle Don. That was a very, very good presentation today. I think that if you think through some of the things that Dr. Don Mattera have shared with us today, maybe tomorrow we can have a more interactive session with him.
الحميد المجيد الرشيد الشهيد